Hello and welcome to Landscapes with Laurel. Today I am going to talk about the process of destruction and what that is in the creative process. Because when you have a plan and you want to redo your yard, it's going to get messy, and so you're going to have to get used to that. So what I'm going to do is just kind of walk you through that process, and then in just a little bit I'll show you kind of the end result and what can come from that. First, you need a vision. You need to know what you want your yard to do for you. What do you want to feel when you're in your landscape? And once you have that in your mind, then you can start setting some small goals, things that you're going to do along the way. But the vision encapsulates everything that you want from your landscape. And because landscapes are always changing, your vision helps you kind of keep everything cohesive, and it helps you so that you don't get discouraged along the way. Because as you begin, as I said, there's going to be some destruction. There's going to be some mess, and it's not going to look very pretty. So make sure you get your vision, and then you can start thinking about some goals. So what I wanted to do is start with my front yard, and I knew that I could only do a portion of my front yard. I've got a side yard next to my driveway, but I wanted to focus just on the front yard and then the other side yard. So what I did is I thought, I want an edible landscape. So what do I need to do to that? I did some planning and thought, okay, what is that going to look like? And I researched other edible landscapes. What did yards look like that didn't have any grass whatsoever? So as I was doing that, I started planning things out in my mind, and I thought, okay, the first thing I need to do is to get rid of all the grass. So as I was planning and getting everything ready before I did the sod cutting, I had to mark the sprinkler heads. So there is some planning that you have to do, thinking about, do your research, make sure that you're doing it correctly, and make sure that you're not going to destroy anything you don't want to destroy. All I wanted to do was get rid of the grass. I didn't want to get rid of the sprinkler heads. And I didn't want to get rid of the tree. I didn't want to get rid of the bushes that are against the house. I just wanted to get rid of the grass so that I could create that edible landscape. So do some planning, and I had to mark those sprinkler heads to make sure that I didn't destroy them. All destruction is not good. Some is, but not all. So I rented a sod cutter and took out the grass. And as you can see, this is the picture of what it looks like without any grass whatsoever. So we rented the sod cutter, turned the sod upside down. As you can see, it's not very pretty. It's kind of ugly, it's pretty bland, and it's pretty drastic to take out all of your grass. But the end result is worth it. I had a friend once say that you're gonna be somewhere in 5 years. What do you want that to look like? Do you want your life to look like it does exactly right now? Or do you want it to look different? Well, I wanted my yard to look different, so I adopted that philosophy into my yard. I thought, my yard's gonna look like something in 5 years. So what can I do today to get it to accomplish my vision, to have it be what I really want it to be? And so that has helped me, that philosophy thinking. In 5 years, I'm gonna be somewhere. 5 years, my yard is gonna be somewhere. It's going to look like something. And so it got me through that process thinking, this is not the end. It's not gonna stay ugly forever. And I can get through this process because I know that in 5 years, it's gonna get better. So as you can see, once it was turned over, there's a lot of stuff around the edges. The sod cutter couldn't get up to the edge by the sidewalk or the driveway. I had to remove the blocks that were there around the tree, and I put those in my side yard, and just not everything was done after we did the sod cutter. So there was more work that needed to be done. So what I did is I worked from home, and every lunch hour I would go out for just a few minutes and go over with my shovel, and I would turn the rest of the sod over. So that took a little bit of time. Luckily, I was letting it compost over the winter, and I didn't have to worry about it being done the next day, so I could take some time. Time is a valuable resource. So if you have some time, let it work for you. And so just going out there, turning it over, and eventually just doing 5-10 minutes a day, it was all done. And it looked beautiful. There's a rule called the 5-minute rule, and this is a rule that helps people with procrastination, that anybody can do anything for 5 minutes. That's not too overwhelming, and then things get done. You can actually accomplish a lot by adhering to the 5-minute rule. And that's what I did with my sod and getting all of it turned over. I ended up being able to get all of the side yard done and the front yard done next to there. And I even started doing some stuff in my backyard before the winter was over, which was really cool. So now that we've got all of the yard destroyed, all of the grass is turned over upside down, you may ask, why did you do that? Why didn't you just take out the grass, haul it away, and put some mulch in there and start planting your plants? Why did you leave it that way for so long? Well, I'll tell you, turning it over and letting it sit for several months over the winter and in through the spring creates a beautiful, beautiful compost. And so because the grass is turned upside down, the roots die, but everything underneath, all of that organic matter, starts to break down. And just make sure if you do this, you don't have any pesticides on there, because you want everything to be able to be break down. You want all those little microorganisms and the worms and everything that's in that soil to build that up. So when you put that over upside down, it actually becomes a really beautiful mulch. So you can see, this is what happened when I had waited. It was like I turned the sod over in September, in the fall of 2020. And then it was in the late spring, early summer that I finally got to it, and it was warm enough, and I went and I got the tiller and I tilled all of that up. And as you can see, there's no grass remaining. It's just beautiful, beautiful, rich dirt. So I did add a little bit of compost that I got from the local landfill. I go there all the time, and it's very cheap, and it's really good mulch and compost. So I put that in there and tilled that in there as well to create this beautiful, beautiful dirt. So after I had this rich, beautiful soil, I needed to do some other things. I needed to plan for where the pathways were going to be, where I was going to have a little patio, where I was going to have retaining walls and have the hardscapes. And I will show you that later, but right now we're just focusing on the dirt and the beautiful, ugly part of the dirt. So what I did is I just started clearing way for the pathways. You can see this here, that I had, I wanted to have a walkway that goes from the sidewalk all the way up to my front porch. I also wanted to have some terracing and things. So because my yard has a slope, I wanted to make sure that we had a little bit level ground. I didn't want everything kind of running off onto the sidewalk. So I just got rocks from around my yard, and we have lots of rocks. We grow rocks, I don't know. But it was just really nice to be able to gather things and use stuff that I already had in my yard. And so we made this little terrace, and so I kind of have an upper terrace and a little lower terrace where I can plant some things. Now in this picture you can see that I got a little excited and I wanted to plant my plants because now I have this beautiful dirt. And so I did plant a butterfly bush before I did my drip system, and I did do some other plants that I could water just by hand. It wasn't too overwhelming, and it worked out because I knew where I wanted my butterfly bush to be anyway. So we'll go into the drip system a little bit later and how that all works, and some of the hardscapes in a different video. But now I want to show you what all of this work and all of the destruction and all of this dirt created. So this is what the yard looked just shortly after we got everything done. And it happened not that year. It didn't happen all the next year. It was probably about a 3-year process to be able to get all the plants in, have the hardscapes in, have the drip system in, all of those things that I really wanted in my yard. And it's still a work in progress. I'm still doing research on what are really good edible plants that are beautiful and that can go. And some of the ones that I've found out that I've actually kept is some weeds that grow really, really well, and they actually are kind of beautiful and very, very healthy for you. And we'll go into a weed discussion later as well. But I just wanted to show you this, that beauty happens when you give it time and you're willing to tear down some of the things that are getting in your way. Having a whole yard with grass is just not something that worked for me anymore. I didn't want it. And I needed to get rid of that in order to create this. And so it's been a really wonderful process to be able to do that and to be able to share that with the neighborhood. I have people come up all the time if I'm working in my yard and just going out and pulling a few weeds here and there. And they say, this is just so beautiful. And it's because it's not the cookie cutter. It's not the same yard as the one next door. And there's beautiful flowers and plants. I love the fact that it attracts all kinds of life. So we have quail that hide in the bushes and live there in the yard. We have the bees, and we have the butterflies, and we have the other birds, and just a whole bunch of life that has come to my yard because it was more than just grass. And so I encourage you to think about that. Think about having at least a few areas in your yard that attract life, that can bring you some joy, that you can look at and go, this is really beautiful. And be willing to take the time that it takes. It's a wonderful process when you do that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I just want to encourage you to come back and see some of the other videos that we're going to be doing on the hardscapes, on the drip system, on how to choose plants. There's a whole other story from my backyard because there's a lot of really cool areas in my backyard. I have, vegetable gardens and things like that I've incorporated in that, and fruit trees and gathering areas and a fire pit area and all that. So I'd love to share that with you, and I hope that you come back soon to join me with that. And if this was helpful to you, please just like and subscribe and share this with somebody who is thinking about a landscaping journey and who needs some encouragement, and that it's not so scary when it looks ugly at the beginning. That's okay. That's part of the process, and it actually is part of the beauty. And so I just enjoyed chatting with you today and inviting you to my garden. So we'll see you next time, and remember, keep growing.